On the face of it, this looks like just another upgraded Activa that follows Honda's typical process of tweaking the styling, throwing in some more features and adding another number to that generation tag that sits down there. But no, this is not an Activa 6G or 7G or whatever the number has now reached. This scooter is a bit more important than that. That's because the Activa 125 you see here is the first BS6 compliant scooter to go on sale in India. And while there are some interesting things to talk about, we'll start with the big one. BS6 emission norms are not easy to reach, especially when you're working with a small engine that has been built to a cost. Now with this latest tightening of the emissions regulations, Honda has had no choice but to ditch the inexpensive carburetor and move to an expensive fuel injection system. But that's not all, and the company has also put in a huge amount of work into the engine, and a lot has changed, right down to the dimensions. The motor now has a slightly shorter bore but a longer stroke, and the result is a small change in capacity, now 124cc instead of 124.9cc. Beyond this, Honda has also worked towards reducing frictional losses and reducing the weight of some parts within the engine. On the spec sheet, however, the first thing you'll notice is the drop in power, which is down from 8.63 HP to 8.29. Torque is also marginally down by 0.2 Nm, and both these figures are produced at the same RPM as before. Factor in that the new version is 3 kilos heavier, and performance certainly isn't going to be a talking point with the Activa 125. Predictably, the performance is nothing to write home about, and this definitely isn't one of the fastest 125cc scooters. What you will notice though is that this engine now sounds and feels like the smoothest scooter motor that you will find in any Honda out there. A big contributor to this increased sense of refinement is Honda's new silent start system. This replaces the conventional starter motor with an AC generator starter, and that takes away from the typical grating gear meshing sound that you'll hear with a traditional system. It feels strange at first, but you'll quickly grow to enjoy the process of thumbing the starter button and having the engine fire up smoothly and quietly. On the move, the motor itself feels smoother and more silent, but aside from this, everything else feels very familiar. The power delivery is mellow and the throttle response is free of any jerkiness. Performance is decent at best, and just like before, the engine starts to feel a little strained upwards of 70 kph, with an indicated 90 being the maximum you will see while sitting upright. Our VBox test reveals a 0 to 60 kph time of 11.2 seconds, which is about 3 seconds slower than the fastest scooter in the segment. Of course, the Activa family has never been about performance, and this new one continues to deliver a very similar experience. The scooter is comfortable thanks to a reasonably spacious floorboard and a well-designed seat. Low-speed agility is also excellent, but just like before, high-speed stability and confidence around corners aren't strong points. You can thank the slim tires and 10-inch rear wheel for that. Braking performance with the front disc brake is also quite good, but strangely, this is only available on the top variant. Now, Honda's smart enough to know that reducing the power on your 125cc scooter and then giving it a big price hike is not going to do the sales numbers any favors. Instead, they've decided to give this scooter a bunch of segment-leading features, all aimed at making it more comfortable and convenient to ride. Honda has finally moved the fuel filler cap to a more convenient external location, and this is standard on all three variants. The silent start system is also standard, but only the top deluxe model gets an idling start-stop system. Now this works quite seamlessly, and if you come to a halt for more than 3 seconds, the engine automatically cuts off. When it's time to ride off again, all you have to do is twist the throttle and it quickly fires right back up. I quite enjoyed using this, and I found that it is quick and doesn't really get in the way. Beyond this, the top two models now get a side stand engine cutoff feature and a new instrument console with a digital display that reads time, average fuel efficiency, real-time fuel efficiency, and distance to empty. You'll also get an LED headlamp on the top two models, but this is average at best. Wrapping all this up is the typical Honda visual nip and tuck with a redesigned headlamp area and some chrome splashes on the front and side, as well as a small new front glove box, although this does feel a little flimsy. But overall, the Activa 125 has gone from being one of the lowest spec scooters in the segment to one of the most feature-packed. Some of these new features are actually quite nice to use, and it's a good thing that Honda has thrown them all in, because the Activa 125 is now quite an expensive machine. The base model with its drum brakes and steel wheels now costs Rs 67,490, which is a 6,300 rupee price hike from before. However, if you want a front disc brake, you have no choice but to go for the top model, which now costs Rs 74,490, a full 9,000 rupee price hike. Yes, these numbers seem quite high, but it's important to remember that Honda is simply the first manufacturer to take this step. The rest of the competition doesn't have much time left to catch up, and you can expect similar price hikes across the board. What will be interesting is whether the others attempt to jazz things up with similar features, or if they simply try to keep their prices as competitive as possible. That's something we'll find out soon enough.